Do you sometimes find yourself in the middle of a fight that seemed to have come out of nowhere? Or do you find it hard to navigate through conflict in a way that's effective? Stay tuned to learn about 4 easy steps to resolving conflict. Hey everyone, and welcome to Becoming an Expert at Self-Leadership. I'm Maika, a psychologist, and I've heard a lot of praise for John Gottman's work and research on relationships. And these days I've had the opportunity to dive into it a bit deeper, and I can fully understand why it's so popular and appreciated. So here's another video that's inspired by him. In this video, I explain his model for resolving conflict in relationships. He's specialized in romantic relationships and marriages. He actually calls his research lab the Love Lab. But I think that this model also applies to other relationships and conflict situations. If you apply these steps, the likelihood that the conflict will be resolved will multiply, and the experience that you and the other person make during your discussion will be a lot more appreciative and loving. So let's take a look at the first step. Number 1, begin softly. In his research, John Gottman observes couples arguing with each other, and what he's observed is that 96% of the time, a discussion that starts harshly ends badly. The outcome of a 15-minute argument can be predicted in the first 3 minutes. That's how important it is to enter into conflict discussions gently and softly instead of harshly and accusatorily. And this isn't necessarily about speaking quietly, but about the emotional tone and the connotation that is within what we say. A harsh start begins with contempt and criticism of the other person's character. It's impolite and disrespectful. These are the 4 parts of a soft startup that John Gottman recommends. He recommends starting out with expressing some sort of shared responsibility. I know I play a part in this. I'm aware that this is not just your problem, it's our problem. I could have reminded you. I want to take responsibility for my part in this. At the same time, I feel angry, upset, sad, frustrated about, and then you explain the specific situation that's upsetting you and stay with just that. And I would appreciate it if, and then you express your need. So here's an example. I know that I'm very vigilant when it comes to handling technology. At the same time, I'm frustrated about how you put my laptop at the edge of the table like this again. And I would appreciate it if you were more careful next time. So if you're thinking about addressing something that's bothering you in a situation, a relationship with someone, give it some thought. Consider how you want to address it and if you're calm enough. And know that if you just storm into it angrily, it most likely won't end well. Number 2, make and receive repair attempts. A repair attempt is a suggestion by one of the people involved in the conflict to take a short break in the discussion and move the whole conversation into a more constructive direction. It's an invitation to improve things. It could be lots of different things, like a kind smile, shared humor. It could be saying something like, I appreciate the effort that you're putting into this conversation, or what you're saying makes sense to me, or can we just take a break for a moment? A repair attempt is anything that's done to de-escalate the situation and dissipate tension. They lower our stress levels and prevent the discussion from getting out of hand and going down a deep, dark well. They keep relationships stable, and if a couple isn't able to offer and respond to each other's repair attempts, that's a predictor for divorce and breakups. There are 2 things you can do to allow repair attempts to unfold their magic. Number 1 is to learn to hear it when the other person makes repair attempts. And number 2 is to make repair attempts yourself, to try to do something that repairs damage that has been done or prevent any future harm. A repair attempt can come in many different forms. John Gottman has compiled a repair checklist with examples of how you can phrase a repair attempt. He also has that list on his webpage, and I've included the link to that in the description box. Check it out. It's really helpful. Essentially, a repair attempt is not about the topic that you're disagreeing on, but it's about the way that you're disagreeing. It's about your exchange and conversation itself. It could be stating how you feel. It could be an apology, requesting that you talk to each other in a different way, or saying something appreciative about the other person. One of my favorites from John Gottman's list is to state how hearing something is making you feel, and then asking the other person if they can rephrase it. So, I feel misunderstood, judged, blamed, hurt, denigrated. Can you rephrase that? Or what I like to do a lot is to just say, I'm not sure I understand. Or, what do you mean? That's also an invitation for the other person to go back and think about what exactly it is they want to say. Take away anything that they don't really want to say, and then express that very clearly. Number 3, reverse emotional flooding. Emotional flooding is a huge obstacle to resolving conflicts gently and softly. It's when we're so overwhelmed physically and emotionally that we can't think straight anymore. When we're emotionally flooded, our prefrontal cortex, which is the brain area right here, can't function properly. And this is the brain area that we need to process information. We need it for self-control and to stay present and calm and to think clearly. So essentially, emotional flooding is an activated fight, flight, or freeze response. When both or one conflict partner is emotionally flooded, the only solution is to take a break and stop discussing immediately. If you keep going, although someone is emotionally flooded, the conflict will escalate. Things will be said that will be regretted later, or someone may just disengage and completely shut down. So if you notice that you're emotionally flooded, that you can't think straight anymore, you could say, I'm feeling flooded, let's take a break. Or if you see that the other person seems to be emotionally flooded, you could say, let's take a break. What's important is to commit to coming back to resolving the conflict after 20 minutes that day or soon after that. The break needs to be at least 20 minutes long, and during this time you could go for a walk, meditate, practice breathing exercises, grounding and relaxation techniques. You could listen to music, exercise, anything that helps you calm down. What's important is to physically and mentally step out of the space of that conflict. So you can't fill this break with thinking about the conflict either. Step 4, compromise. Step 4 is then to come to some sort of compromise or perhaps even cooperation, which is a win-win situation. The other 3 steps provide the fundament and emotional atmosphere for the negotiation. And step 4 means to negotiate and come to a result, which is a compromise. And to facilitate that, John Gottman recommends that each person draws 2 circles like this and then writes within the smaller circle in the inside what they aren't willing to compromise on, what they need or want, and in the outer circle to note down anything that they can compromise on, what would be nice to have but doesn't need to be, and to try their best to keep this circle as small as possible and that one as large as possible. What's important is to keep an open mind, both about the compromise, what that's going to look like, and how you'll get there. To be willing to accept the other person's requests and influence, at least to some extent, to really listen to them. If one of the persons is set on getting their way no matter what, the conflict can't be resolved. I hope you got something from this and that it allows you to improve your relationships and conflict resolution skills. If you'd like to keep learning about self-leadership, remember to hit the subscribe button and notification bell. Till next time, take care, and remember that there's a way of going into and through disagreement that allows conflict to get resolved and people to maintain their bond and sometimes even feel closer to each other afterwards.